coming up on today's episode.
I think good is a little bit of an understatement. But yeah, she's... Yeah. I don't know how to spell what you just did, but is so correct.
I got a question. This is a sidebar here, and
please.
I'm sorry. You've got experience living in Europe. Is that a thing to have the sink in the bedroom?
Yeah.
What's up with that?
So if we could come away with a helpful hint, deal with your past and move the F on.
That's a good way to put it.
The answers that you're looking for are lying just beyond the frame.
Well, Ryan, here we are again on the couch.
How do we get here?
It's so weird.
I wake up and I'm here. I don't know what happens.
Exactly. Severance, our version of Severance.
Yeah. This is my, what do they call it in that?
You're an innie.
I'm an innie.
This is your innie. Yeah. Or the innies talk about movies. Right. So since, we're here and the equipment's here, let's talk about a movie.
Let's do it.
Why don't we talk about the one that we both saw individually yesterday?
I would love to.
That would be the Ballad of Wallis Island.
I want to talk about the Ballad of Wallis Island.
This is a good
lot
one.
to talk about.
Yes. Oh, yes, there is. This movie, first of all, was written by the two co-stars, Tim Key, who plays Charles, and Tom Basden, who plays Herb McGuire.
I didn't know that.
Now you do.
They wrote it together.
They
I love
did.
that.
They
Okay.
did. Tom Basden also wrote the original music that you'll hear in the film.
Whoa.
The folk songs,
it
the
was,
guitar.
That's
that
funny
was him.
that it was him and not the other guy.
No, it's the musician. It's the guy who's singing who wrote them.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
The guy who
I
played
see.
Herb.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah. That would have been weird.
Yeah, that would have. I was like,
If
what?
it had
How
been
does that
Charles,
work?
the owner of the home, who got
That
that would have
totally
been
makes
interesting.
sense.
That would have been really interesting.
Good. Honestly, I like the music.
I did too.
Like I it's not really my style usually, but like the kind of, it's more like maybe like folk.
Yeah.
If you would
it's
describe it as that.
definitely folk. Yeah.
But I liked it.
I did too.
Yeah, it was fun.
I thought they were.
Tom.
Yeah.
Kudos.
Absolutely.
You
absolutely
wrote,
true.
You wrote some great music here.
Yeah, he really did.
And a great film.
Completely agree. This was a joy. And we're going to tell you why throughout this episode.
Yeah, we are.
This project in particular, Ryan, began way back in 2007 when Key and Basden teamed up with director James Griffiths, who directed this movie as well, to make a short, which won the Best Short Film at the Edinburgh International Film Festival and was nominated for a 2008 BAFTA Award for Best Short Film.
Jeez.
Yeah. So they had some 18 years of momentum going into this project.
This is not going to make me feel good
What?
as an artist and as a director. I'll
Oh,
tell you
come
that.
on.
18 years. I get a BAFTA nomination and I got 18 years until I make it.
Well, that's because they were so busy doing other things.
I hope so.
Me too, and
I
that's
really
that's
hope
what I
so.
told myself is that they
Yeah.
were so busy for all those years.
They just got
they're like,
so much
"Hey,
work."
Let's go back and revisit that.
Yeah.
Now that we're a little bit more, now that we've made it,
Love it. Love it.
and the two guys are a comedic duo.
I could see that.
Yeah,
That makes total
They
sense.
have brilliant timing together.
Brilliant.
So anyway, as always, to all y'all out there listening or viewing us, there will be spoilers ahead, as there already probably has been. So consider yourselves legally warned.
Legally. I like how you frame it as legally.
You cannot sue us for this. And if you haven't seen it, we hope that what we say here today makes you want to see it, because in my opinion, it's worth seeing.
Go watch the movie, come back and listen.
There you go. So please be sure to leave a like, rating, or review where you hear us or see us. And as always, we welcome your comments. So clearly we love talking about movies, and we'd love to extend that conversation with you.
Yes, let us know your thoughts.
Yeah, so please reach out. Okay, so although I'm not going to give a complete recap of the flick, I will give the basic setup. Okay? So Charles is a two-time lottery winner, living.
I love how he found out. Sorry to cut you off. I love how he found out that he was. Like he mentions, oh, how'd you get the money? And then he mentions, oh, I won the lottery. And then like he says all this bad stuff happened. He's like, okay, but how are you a millionaire now?
Well,
then?
right, because
and then he just walks over to the other side of the room.
And showed him the next winning ticket, because the story of the first lottery ended in him being completely broke.
Yeah, he spent it all. And,
Right. And that's where Herb, not Herb, was completely confused. Wait
Herb
a minute.
Maguire?
Yeah, Herb.
Time Maguire.
Or Chris,
Basil
as
Maguire?
his real name was.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But Basil. Anyway, that was amusing. I thought having this guy be a 2-time lottery winner was really interesting.
hilarious.
So he got to completely make all the bad decisions with the first lottery winning and then do it very differently the second time.
Yeah, don't we all just get that lucky?
Right.
2 times. You got a better chance of getting struck by lightning like 7 times in a row.
I think you're probably statistically correct on that one. Yeah.
But it fits the character. It makes total and complete sense.
It does. It does.
And it's hilarious.
It's hilarious. Well, it's a lot of things. It's funny, but there are other layers which we are going to peel back here a little bit. So Charles is living on this rather remote island, which is actually not an island. The part of the island was played by the country of Wales. Charles is in essence a recluse, because he lives in this big house all by his lonesome, and he does have a favorite band called Maguire Mortimer.
What a great name.
And hey, doesn't money have its privileges? Because anyway, that's what I've heard. Charles hires the duo.
Yeah, I'm not speaking from experience.
No,
there.
not at all. Only from what we've witnessed in movies.
Sure.
Charles hires the duo for large sums of money to reunite and play a private concert to, quote, fewer than 100 people.
Yeah, it's a great lie.
We find out that it is a significant overstatement, as this audience will comprise of exactly one Charles.
Quite a bit less than 100.
Quite a bit less. So this will reunite not only a 2-person folk music duo, but also former lovers.
Yikes.
Yes, yikes is correct. So one's been living in the past and one hasn't.
That's a good way to put it.
And so you add all this up and you just think, Ryan, what could go wrong?
I can't imagine any scenario where that would go wrong.
So the other half of the musical former lovers duo, Mortimer, is played with perfection by the always remarkable Carey Mulligan.
And she was an executive producer on this too.
Yes, she was.
Love it.
Yeah,
Lovely actress.
Oh my God.
Good in anything she's ever done in the history of being alive as a person.
I completely agree. And I think good is a little bit of an understatement. Ugh. But yeah, she's... Yeah. I don't know how to spell what you just did, but is so correct. As an actor myself, I watch her and marvel.
Oh,
I truly do. She has such fantastic ease.
Glued to the screen, my eyes are.
Yeah.
I'm just following her around.
Well, that and I always believe her.
100%.
I always believe her.
Whatever character she
every
plays.
word, every movement. So I guess you could say I think she's pretty good at this acting
She's
stuff.
got a future,
Yeah,
for sure.
she does. I will say this right here. Even though Ryan and I don't do typical movie reviews, I really enjoyed this film, and it stayed with me. Too many times I come out of a movie, and by the time I've gotten in my car, I'm like, what did I see again?
Yeah, it doesn't stick with you.
And this one...
Gladiator 2.
Gladiator. It's something that sounds a lot like Gladiator 2, is that what you said? This one has really stuck with me.
Yeah.
I appreciated that.
It's very touching. It's very moving. And it's very human.
It is. It also did make me squirm several times. And
Sure.
I'm gonna get to that.
You and me both.
It did challenge me in some ways. It really struck a chord.
Yeah.
Pone absolutely intended.
You and me both.
So, it did have a warm humanness that you and I are both saying, and it never felt sappy or sentimental.
Nope.
There was just a kindness at the heart of
Goodness, yeah. Agreed.
it. So, before we get to discussing some scenes, Ryan, I have a question for you.
You always do.
I know I do. And this is
I enjoy your questions.
right on, because this is no exception today. I have a big one, I think.
Oh, a big one.
Well, have you ever had a situation in your life in which you fought against what was happening in a particular situation, only to quote unquote lose the battle, but gain something unexpected in the end? Or to put it another way, have you ever found yourself in a situation where you were not getting what you wanted, only to discover that in the end, you emerge with more than you could have foreseen?
I see why you chose that question, given the context of the film. I got it. The gears are turning. The wheels are turning.
Yeah.
I mean,
Because sometimes, I'm just going to say, sometimes we fight hardest against the things that are trying to show us something, to give us some understanding that will help us. So if you need a moment to ponder that, I'll give you an example.
Well, I think I have, but I don't know if it
ahead.
was like something that I needed to happen. The example I'm thinking of that came to mind is not that. I don't think, and I'll explain. So how do I phrase this? I'm trying to phrase it. So when it comes to belief systems or spirituality, religious, I've got my own individual set of beliefs, but I'm not a Christian or a Catholic. Okay. I'm not a believer in that Christ, if you will, or whatever. Mm-hmm. But so my girlfriend is, and so it's important that to her that I am supportive of that, and that's very important to me as well. And what comes with that is going to church with her. We negotiate, and I go to a couple times a month. I don't go every weekend, but I go a couple times a month to show my support of her and what she's doing. And it started out as a very like, all right, I'll go.
Okay.
Because I gotta, be there for you.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to be there. I wouldn't go normally.
Yeah.
But it became something that I looked forward to, that I wanted to go to because of the community. Because we're with people and everyone's nice and we're all curious about each other's lives. And I take something from every sermon. I don't believe in what is being preached necessarily in terms of Christ or Christianity, but I believe in the message that they're trying to send. Does that make sense?
It makes complete sense. That's a great example, too.
I can listen and I can absorb and I can take something from it that applies to me. And then again, just being around, we've got friends there. It's just good to see everyone. Everyone's in high spirits. It's an uplifting time to your Sunday morning. So I've grown to enjoy it. I've grown to it. I don't have
good
that.
For you.
When I started out with that,
the resistance.
I gotta. Okay, I'll go. I don't have that anymore. I actually look forward to it. I'm like, oh yeah, we're gonna go to church tomorrow. So I think that's kind of what you're saying of like something that I was I didn't really want to do. But then it actually ended up being something that was good.
I think that's a really good example. I think the reason I bring this up, and I think you can probably glean this, is that we're gonna get to this, but we're gonna watch one of the main characters really fighting against everything.
Yeah.
And we will get to that. I just wanted to hear, if you could relate to that in a personal way.
100%. What about you? Can you relate to our...
all too well.
What is it? MacGyver Mortimer?
McGuire.
McGuire Mortimer.
Yeah.
What a great name.
Yeah, no doubt.
Can you relate to our guy?
I really can, and that's part of why it made me squirm, because, it was really... I could absolutely see myself in how stubborn he was, how much he fought against the situation he was in, how his perspective was, he was not open, shall we say. He did not go into this situation open at all.
Right.
And, I don't want to get too ahead of myself, but I've had so many situations in my life where I fought against what was going on. And once everything unfolded, it's like, why was I fighting that?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Totally.
Even for me, I got a job at an Apple store, and I did that out of absolute necessity. And even though I got the job, it's like, oh my God, it pays that little or, whatever. And I kind of fought it. I resisted it. And it turned out to be so many doors opened up because of that. Like me being here, I never would have met you. The people that I met, the things that I did completely changed. It's no exaggeration. It completely changed the direction of my life and what my life looks like here in Los Angeles.
Yeah. So you're right. How you never gone and done that job.
Yeah.
That you didn't want to do.
And I did it so begrudgingly.
Yeah. You're like,
just
because I have to.
I just got to make some money.
Sure.
You know? And so I can look back and go, God, it was such a gift, but I didn't know that at the time, and I didn't look at it that way at the time.
Sure. Absolutely.
So yeah, just
that makes complete sense.
And that's one of the themes that I want to touch on in this movie.
Okay.
So one of the things though that I want to say about that particular dynamic is I do my best to notice when I'm struggling against a particular situation and I feel like everything is quote unquote going wrong. I try to catch myself when I'm getting upset, when I'm, not getting what I want, and how much do I resist that? What don't I see? I have to ask myself that. What don't I understand? Why am I fighting this so much?
There must be something deeper here, like that I'm not seeing.
Exactly. And can I take a step back? Can I take a breath and just go with what's happening rather than fighting against it?
That's tough.
Oh, if I could do that every time.
Ryan. Oh, the world would be a much better place.
My personal world would be a much, much calmer place.
I would save myself a lot of pain.
Exactly.
A lot of anguish, a lot of unnecessary anguish.
Oh boy, do I understand that. So let's jump into some scenes to discuss this theme, which I'll call the fighting what is for how we think it should be.
I love the way you put that.
But first, why don't we take a bad guy break?
Let's do it. I'm curious to see what you came up with because this is, I can't, it's just a tough,
Okay.
Kudos to you. Good. I'm glad I didn't have this bad guy break.
So I think I'm going to have to explain it. Maybe I should explain it before. Should I explain it before or after? No, I'm going to explain it after.
Throw me to the wolves, man.
Okay. So the year is 1987.
Okay.
The setting is, for then, present day New York City.
Okay.
Stars Michael Douglas.
Okay.
The movie is Wall Street.
Wall Street. Okay. Never seen it.
It also stars Charlie Sheen. I don't know if that would have given it away for you.
I've never
Probably
seen Wall
not
Street,
because
so
you
no.
haven't seen it. The classic line, greed is good, came out of that. Michael Douglas played Gordon Gekko, billionaire robber baron.
Okay.
Modern day robber baron. And Charlie Sheen plays like a hungry apprentice who's willing to do whatever. And he basically will work against his own best interest for the sake of money, to get paid, to make just his greed drove him.
Sure. And that's a great bad guy break given the theme we're talking about here then.
Because these musicians are going to be paid a whole lot of money to come play this gig. And particularly Herb thinks it's against his own best interest in a way.
Right.
So
that's a great bad guy. I don't know if I would have come up with that. So kudos to you, man.
Well, that's just
Hats
the way
off.
my bizarre brain works. So I'm glad that you could see some kind of logic in that.
Yes. No, definitely.
So, okay. So let's go to the scene one. And it's not actually a scene, but something that runs through most of the movie. And that is Herb resisting, everything. So it starts when he arrives at the island and there's no dock. So he really doesn't want to get wet. He doesn't want his possessions to get wet, yet he ends up in the drink.
Oh, yeah.
There's no car to drive them to the inn. He's clearly irritated at that. It's a long, walk up a muddy road.
It's making me laugh just thinking about that scene of him where's the port or whatever he says.
Right. Where's the pier? Where's the dock?
Yeah,
I think he said.
Dock? And he's
there's no dock. Because the boat was probably, 50 feet from the shore.
It was a little fishing
dinghy.
boat. It was a little tiny little thing.
Yeah. It was nothing like what he pictured at all. And so all of his expectations are getting absolutely shattered.
Oh, yeah.
And then we get to his room. And he's got the continuous flow of water running from the faucet.
Yeah,
his phone is inoperable because it got wet.
I got a question. This is a sidebar here, and
please.
I'm sorry. You've got experience living in Europe. Is that a thing to have the sink in the bedroom?
Yeah.
What's up with that?
Am
I
how
just
do I
an ignorant
explain
American
that?
where
No,
I'm
no.
like, that is bizarre.
Even you just made me think of a flash of a really beautiful hotel room I had in Zurich. That had the sink, had a sink in there and stuff, but the toilet was down the hall.
Yeah, I guess my brain, I'm like, I can't conceive of a reason why in the bedroom I would need, unless I got to wash my hands.
I don't know if it had to do because that home was very old, and I don't know if indoor plumbing, I don't know when it came into being. They probably had to add that to the house much later.
Got it.
But it's so funny you say that because I didn't think twice about
Interesting.
that.
Yeah, I guess me just being like, I've never experienced that in my life.
I have seen that in like when I've stayed in B&Bs in like Edinburgh.
Yeah.
That was the case. There was a sink in there. Yeah.
Huh.
So I don't think it's not common anymore.
Okay.
It's just in older places.
Oh, okay.
But you definitely do see that.
Interesting. Sorry to
Yeah.
sorry to
No, it's
sidebar
okay.
us there,
No,
steer us off.
I'm
but
glad you brought that up. I never would
when
have thought of that.
was watching it, I was like, God, that is interesting.
Yeah, that's no.
I
that
couldn't
is a
do it.
more-
I could not sleep, I don't think, with a running tap.
Well, maybe you could think of it as a running stream, like a brook or a river. But
Waking up trying to take a piss in the middle of the night. Piss the bed, man.
yeah, that's funny. It was just, if these things could go wrong, they were going wrong for him.
Everything was stacking up against this guy.
And the only he can't reach his people because his phone doesn't work. The only store doesn't really stock anything that he wants. The list goes on and on. He struggles against it all. He's utterly incapable of going with the flow. And yeah, sadly, like I said, I could relate to this struggle, and it did make me squirm, but especially made me squirm when we got the contrast of his former musical partner / lover, Nell, and how she was with this. She and her husband, and I'll get to them later, flow with it all.
Yeah.
No pier, no car, no hotel, no real store. No problem.
All good,
for
no
them.
worries,
No
yeah.
problem. If they were bothered, they didn't show it.
Yeah.
There's also 300,000 pounds in their immediate future to smooth things over.
Yeah.
But,
Small price to pay.
Exactly. But also, Herb had even a bigger payoff waiting for him.
Yeah, 500.
500,000 pounds.
Yeah.
And that didn't smooth anything over.
Yeah, he was going to complain about every little thing.
Dude, get over yourself. So he fights all along the way and feels frustration at almost all terms.
Yeah.
Nell flows with it and feels no such frustration.
Mm-hmm.
But more than that, Herb's struggle with everything blinds him to what's right in front of him.
Yes, absolutely. He doesn't see it.
He's
too busy. He's too caught up in like, this is ridiculous, this situation I'm in, and this is not fair to me, and I've got this one guy who won't leave me alone, and I'm wet, and everything's going wrong. He's just so focused on that, and I gotta call my people. I gotta call my people.
And you could totally, and you could just tell this guy is not comfortable in his skin.
Mm-hmm.
He just wasn't. He was broken.
Yeah.
And trying to justify his new music, even though you could tell he didn't even believe in it.
No.
It was just really something to watch him struggle. I can't think of another word besides that.
100%. You're right.
And it all makes sense in the end. But I just I could relate. I wish I couldn't. As I get older, I get better at going with the flow, because like sometimes even coming over here, like I'm pushing to like, got to get here on time. And then I get here and we still got to set up.
Yeah.
It's like, I could have been 10 minutes later.
Yeah,
It
you
wouldn't
could
have
just
wouldn't have made
taken your
any
time.
difference. And I could have just, just gone with it.
I'm with you 100%.
And-
I feel it too in my day to day.
And it's, I'm not that way all the time, but when I am, and particularly when it's really starting to line up and it feels like nothing's working right, I do my best to like, wait a second, what's going on here? Like, slow down, take a breath.
It's happening again.
Just observe it. Like
Yeah.
almost like a third party, just watching a movie, watch myself like I'm watching a movie.
Yeah.
And if and when I can do that, it really changes it. It really changes the texture of it.
100%. I was this guy for a long time. And then not recently, I'd say the last couple of years or so, but I've been very like, what's the word? Mindful of how I approach situations like this. So when things are going wrong, I'm conscious of, I want to be less stressed. That's my goal. I want to be less stressed. I want to feel better. I want my nervous system to be more balanced. And so when things go wrong and we're going to be late or my expectations aren't met, it's easy to get a little upset.
Sure. Yeah.
But I try to be mindful of like, what's that going to do for me? That's not going to help the situation. It's only going to make me stressed. It's only going to hurt it. So let me just, oh, well, I thought we had a reservation. Now we got to wait 40 minutes.
Yep. Exactly.
Well, things happen, It is what it is.
Great that you can get yourself to that point when you can.
Not always been like that.
Well, for me either. And it's just making me think of something that I hadn't thought of in a little bit, but some good advice I got a long time ago about this kind of thing, and that is life knows what it's doing. So almost like get yourself out of the way, observe, do what you need to do, but if you're fighting it, that's because you're fighting an expectation. And you're not really just watching what's unfolding. It's not what's unfolding doesn't match the picture in your head. And that's what causes the agitation rather than just going, this is a trip. This is interesting.
Didn't expect
Let me just
that.
see what goes on here.
Yeah.
How late am I going to be? What's going to happen? And just looking at it like, it's almost like putting on a lab coat and watching an experiment rather than taking it personally. And my expectations aren't being met. And what I want is not being met.
It's hard, man.
It's
very hard, but that's great. That's sound advice. Life knows what it's doing.
Yeah.
Just let it rock.
Yeah, exactly.
Let it roll, man. Like they did in the movie, like Nell did.
Like Nell did. Yeah. So which brings us to the next point I want to make, which is scene 2, which is actually not a scene, but a theme that runs through 7/8 of this movie, and that is Herb and Charles both living in the past.
I loved this contrast.
It was really something. Neither of these men have really processed what happened to them in their past. For Herb, it was the breakup of his personal and musical relationship with Nell. Mm-hmm. And, I don't blame him. What was he thinking? Why did he break up with her? Anyway, for Charles, we eventually learned that it was the death of his partner, Marie.
Yeah.
And it took some time for us to even know that Marie existed. I think there were signs all along the way that Charles was truly broken.
Yeah, and he alluded to it at a couple different times. It was that last time we went.
True, but
we used to listen to the music
I guess
together.
Marie didn't come up until quite some time. We didn't know who the we was. You're
yes,
right. That he did say that. So Charles wants to relive the magic of his favorite band. His love for their music runs deep and is, to me, entirely believable. He just seemed like a mega fan.
Yeah, genuinely.
And he takes his fandom to an impressive height. He brings them to the island to bring back joy, to bring back happier times.
Yeah.
Definitely. But it also doesn't work out for him as he wanted, as he expected. So it worked out actually much, much better.
Yeah, I think so.
His journey was, to me, lovely to watch.
Yeah, his storyline was my favorite.
Yeah, mine too. And I was really moved by him.
Yeah, that scene where they finally had the concert on the beach.
Oh my God.
Absolutely.
Because he was able to, as an adult, I almost thought of him as I didn't. I thought of him as being someone on the spectrum. I also think that his isolation and his broken heart led to
contribute to that,
to how he was. You could tell he's somebody who just probably talked to himself out loud all day long
for years and doesn't have any kind of social. Yeah.
Exactly, and he's trying his best to keep himself, buoyed. And having a tough time of it.
Yeah, definitely.
Sure. But there was also just a real sweetness and a kindness to him. He was oblivious, but he wasn't mean.
No, he was just, there was a good person in there.
For sure.
He was a good guy. He just didn't know, couldn't read social cues.
No, not at all. He could never read the room.
Sometimes that's all right.
Totally. But Herb, to me, he was much more. Watching him was a lot harder.
Yeah, oh yeah,
he's a lot harder.
There's layers to that guy.
For sure. So and before Nell actually showed up at the island, Herb has no idea that she's coming until he physically sees her in the boat, about to get off the boat. Like, wait, what?
Yeah, he goes, "You invited her?"
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So right away, just rips.
He's like, no, this is a problem.
It's it's clearly an open wound.
Is a problem.
Oh, for sure. And at the same time, we saw him light up when he would speak with Nell, but they really lit up when they sang together.
Oh, it brought everything back. You could see that's the first time we saw a little bit of life in him in the film,
and that's where he played just a flatline guy,
just a curmudgeon.
Really well,
just blank.
Yeah, nobody you'd want to spend time with.
The first instance of like, oh, there's a human in there.
Yeah,
was
when
Nell
shows up.
They were interacting with each other,
and I thought the scenes with them singing were really beautiful.
Oh,
yeah,
I love the dining room scene where he goes and grabs the guitar and comes back. He's like, it's not rock.
Yeah,
and he goes and grabs the guitar and they sing it together. And I also love the way Charles was affected by it.
Yeah, he really was. That was fantastic to watch. I mean, Charles had been dreaming about this for God knows how long.
Yeah, that was his concert.
Yeah, and to see them sitting right there in his house
playing together.
Yeah, and to see them enjoying it. Yeah, it was fantastic. There were many great moments like that. But I definitely could understand why Herb felt the way he did, singing with Nell.
Yeah, and clearly this guy never had closure.
He didn't, and that was the tricky part here, is that he had not dealt with his past. So his perceptions of the present time were completely off. They were not based in reality.
He's living
at all. Exactly.
10 years ago.
Exactly. And again, it was Nell that offered such a strong contrast because she had clearly moved on.
Yeah, she's married.
Yep. She was clear with their past.
She's pregnant.
Their present. Funny, when she first came walking, the first scene that she's in, when she's walking towards them, first thought I had was she's pregnant.
Oh, really? I didn't get it until she said it.
And I tried to look on IMDb or find something like, did Carey Mulligan, was she really pregnant? Because there was just something about her that was my first thought, was like, oh,
interesting.
And it turned out later in the movie, she reveals that she is pregnant.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, dang. I was that because she was thinking it so much as an actress that came through? Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah,
but that was nailed that. I got it.
Wow. Okay.
I give her credit for that.
Sure.
So these two were not in harmony, you could say. No. So Herb's completely living in the past. Nell is completely clear and right with us. So these two themes, fighting what is and living in the past, are to me, in many ways, two sides of the same coin.
Yeah.
Both will blind a person to what is and could potentially cause a lot more grief.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Totally. So if we could come away with a helpful hint, deal with your past and move the F on.
That's a good way to put it. You got to deal with it, man. If you just shove it down, which is clearly what he did, you're going to find yourself in those situations again.
You absolutely will.
And what are you going to do? You never dealt with it. It's going to crush you, which is exactly what happened here.
That's
right. It crushed him.
It did. And clearly he didn't leave a window open for something new to happen, for someone new to come into his life. You had the impression that really no one had in however many years it had been since
what
they
woman
broke
would want to
up.
be with this guy?
No doubt. No doubt.
Golly.
So that leads us to scene number 3, which is no scene at all.
Oh, I love this.
So this theme is one we have discussed before, but I feel it's worth revisiting. Okay. If only briefly. And that theme is seeing beyond our own pain.
Great.
Charles is a fascinating character. At times, like we've said, he frustrated me a little. Some of his humor and stuff at first was like, and I know that exactly. And to whatever degree that he kind of challenged me, I knew that was more about me. It wasn't about Charles.
Sure, he was just a goof. He's a big goof,
Totally.
big teddy bear goof.
Exactly. And like we said, the guy might have been on the spectrum, lives alone. He's broken.
Yeah,
can't read the room for his life, like you'd said. His intentions aren't malicious at all, but he doesn't see what's right in front of him.
Yeah.
And neither, Charles doesn't read the room. But what he wrote on the wish lantern, sorry, that was a strange transition. But I think I meant to put a different name in there.
Sure.
So my own notes threw me off. But what he wrote on the wish lantern, they had this scene where Nell and Herb and Charles are on the beach, and they write wishes on these lanterns. They light them, and then they send them off, which I think is a beautiful gesture.
Yeah. Letting go.
So Herb saw that one of them came down and was in the water, and he went out to find out what it was because he wanted to see what Nell wrote on hers because he made a terrible assumption.
I love that he thinks he's committing suicide.
Exactly.
He's like,
yeah.
No. He's running down there.
I didn't want to go into that whole scene, but that is a great
It's worth noting
scene.
how funny it was.
That is a great scene. But he, what Charles wrote on the wish lantern, when Herb picked it up in the water and he saw what Charles had written, that he wrote it to Marie, and he wrote about, like, I've got these guys at the house, they're going to play a concert, and
it's great.
And how much he missed her. And it really hit Herb finally. And he saw that he was not the only one that was hurting. Finally.
Again, he was too focused on himself. He didn't realize what was right in front of him.
Yep, exactly. And so he still pouted throughout the night. But the next day he woke up, you could say, a different guy. So I like to think that night he really worked his shit. He really worked it.
Yeah.
And he came out the next day, and his focus was on, what can I do for Charles?
Yeah. Yeah, it was beautiful. I mean, it something that I just thought of was like, these are two guys that are grieving the loss of
That's right.
their love.
That's right.
In two different ways, but they're one and the same. The movie is such a great juxtaposition of these two characters that we think are so polar opposite of each other.
Exactly.
And yet,
but no,
they are more similar than they realize. And to your point, which is I love that you brought up the scene when he sees the lantern and what he wrote. That's when he realizes he's like, man, I am such an idiot this whole time. I've been focusing on me.
Yep.
And I haven't realized that Charles is hurting as well.
That's right.
I hope, he worked his shit out, and he said,
did.
you know what?
He did. Because when he didn't come out of his room that night, I thought, God bless it.
Yeah.
I mean, Charles leaves him a bowl of soup outside of his door. Well, it's out here if you want it. I don't want it. I'm not hungry. You know, it's like, dude, grow up.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
And
he grew up.
And he did. He did.
Yeah.
And I love that. So, it's like, one of the things I said to you that I got from the Dalai Lama years ago, which was, if you want to help yourself, help others, basically.
Sure.
And that's what Herb finally did.
Yeah, focused on somebody else other than him.
What he did, I guess we'll just say it because we've already had spoilers, but the woman who runs the local store, she's very cute. And it was clear that Charles liked her, but never did anything about it. And Herb he finished Charles' invitation of the concert. Because didn't Charles start that?
Yeah, he was going to invite her.
He was going to invite her. And so
Nell had talked him into it, I think.
Nell had talked him into it. And Herb
but he never delivered it.
He didn't deliver it because he thought the concert was off. Also because Nell left. And I didn't go into that whole thing, but and he delivered the invite to her, and I just thought that was so lovely, the concert that they did have.
Yeah,
and
it says a lot about the person that Herb is.
He played a solo concert to the two of them for, it looked like, at least 2 hours, probably.
Yeah,
there was
sun. The sun went down.
Sun was up. The sun went down, so they played into dark.
Yeah,
and he just kept playing. And Charles kept just absolutely loving it.
Yeah, and then the very touching moment when he plays the one song.
Yeah.
I think it's like My Love or something like that. Yeah. We
can
see
the song that Herb said he wasn't going to play.
Exactly. And we can see how much I think Charles needed this in order to move on.
They both did.
Yeah, exactly. They needed each other.
They did.
They needed this scenario. They needed this moment in time to push both of them. Like it was a little nudge. Life came up and was like, just a little nudge.
Well, for sure. Well, a little nudge. I mean, again, Herb fought it the whole way.
Yeah, exactly.
He really fought it the whole way.
And to your point, Charles was fighting it too, not in the same way that Herb
Not
was.
the same
Herb was
way.
more direct and more outspoken, but Charles was fighting it too, just up here.
He was.
He had many of interactions with this woman at the shop, and
Nell could see right away that he liked her.
okay, what's going
right
on
away?
here?
Yeah.
But he couldn't let go.
No,
Couldn't let go.
he couldn't.
He had to be nudged a little bit, and the nudge was inviting her.
Yes.
Herb inviting her to the.
And that was lovely. And I gotta say too, I loved the ending.
Oh yeah.
One of the things that Herb did. Well, let's back up. Charles had one of Herb's guitars hanging on the wall.
Yep.
He bought it at an auction.
Yep.
Legally, that's his. This is what O.J. Simpson went to prison for, because O.J. Simpson was in Las Vegas, and there was someone selling memorabilia of O.J.'s stuff, and O.J.'s saying, "This is my stuff," and he tried to take it, even though he had sold it or at auction. It wasn't his stuff.
Okay,
So even those possessions had been his at one point, they weren't anymore.
Wow.
So he stole them, and he went to prison for that.
Wow, interesting. Okay.
So this, I when he
So
took the
technically
guitar,
this is
I thought,
Charles.
man, he's pulling an OJ,
yeah.
And we see Charles walking through his house after Herb has left.
Yeah.
And Herb is a very different Herb when he leaves. I loved that. And I thought that he walked through that house and there was no guitar on the wall. And I go, damn,
Yeah.
that was a bad move.
Yeah.
He took this guy's guitar.
Yeah.
And finally he comes to one room where on a table is the guitar
Not only that,
and all the money.
but all the money he was going to get.
He
paid.
did take the suitcase, but the suitcase didn't have the money in it.
It had his writer in it. It had the apples.
That's
and-
right. And probably the scotch. And
Yeah.
that was such a good ending.
Yeah. Such a great final gesture.
It was.
I love that.
I thought it was beautiful. So final thought. Is everything seemingly going wrong? Are you struggling against an invisible tide? If you can, take a step back, take a breath, and see if you can just go with it, whatever it is.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
This isn't easy. I know it's just a suggestion, but something magical can come from that.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So that's my final
Only one
thought
way
on
to
that
find
movie.
out, people.
Yeah, let it happen. Let it happen.
See what happens.
So I'm going to make some recommendations.
Love
and
it.
these recommendations are 5 indie charmers.
Oh,
Because this movie was an indie charmer.
oh boy,
Was
was
it not?
And I love an indie charmer.
Yeah, me too.
Let me hear some Rex here.
So
gentlemen.
how about the first one is Lady Bird, starring
Oh.
Saoirse Ronan, about a fiercely independent teenager trying to escape the black hole that is her hometown of Sacramento. It was written and directed by Greta Gerwig, who coincidentally is from Sacramento.
I love it.
You can watch that on Max. Number 2 is Ruby Sparks, starring Paul Dano and Zoe Kazan.
I don't know this one, Ruby
Oh.
Sparks.
It's about a writer who, while experiencing writer's block, creates a female character he thinks will love him, and he, through movie magic, wills her into existence.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, you should see it. And it was written by Zoe Kazan.
Zoe Kazan. Okay.
And if you want to, it's on Amazon Prime. You can watch it there.
Maybe I'll be checking that out.
Yeah.
Okay.
Third one is Silver Linings Playbook.
Can't go wrong.
Yeah. Starring, of course, Bradley Cooper and Jennifer Lawrence. It was not written by either of them. But it's about 2 broken people who really help to unbreak each other.
Great
And
Rex.
I love that movie. And that's on Max as well. Number 4 is The Spectacular Now, starring amongst others on a very strong cast, Miles Teller and Shailene Woodley. Excuse me, I tripped over my own tongue. He thinks he knows what's up. She shows him he doesn't.
Yeah. I love these like little synopsis, like one sentence synopsis.
Yeah, you can see that on Prime. The last one is, last but not least, a movie we've covered on this show before, but it deserves to be recommended again, and that is The Perks of Being a Wallflower.
Yeah.
starring Logan Lerman and Emma Watson. You can see that on Max.
If you haven't seen that, see it once, see it twice, and see it 3 times.
Exactly. I think that's probably the 14th time that we've recommended this film. Exactly. But that's how
we'll
feel about it.
it.
Exactly. It deserves that kind of promotion.
Yes.
So thank you again so much for joining us today. And remember, as always, you're the main character in your own life. So don't be afraid to take a step back. Look at the bigger picture, because sometimes the answers that you're looking for are lying just beyond the frame.
Boy, are they.
We'll see you next time.
Peace.
Peace.